Hey guys, I'm Greg. I'm here with Dr. Chris DeGeer. He's a chiropractor. What exactly do you do regularly?
Well, I see a lot of athletes, so with trampolinists or gymnasts, we see a lot of injuries, and that's what we'll be going over today, just some common ways to maybe help some things that you see in the gym.
Next thing is that we do a lot of jumping, and our shins here get sore, and obviously shin splints are a big common problem for us. We're doing a lot of bounding off the feet, a lot of trampolines, a lot of parkour guys may not be as well conditioned, and you start getting the pulling of the muscles on the bone, right? If you have, like I used to do it, and when I had like a really hard training before competitions and stuff like that, and you really put out more numbers, I would start getting bruises along my shins. Is that common, and what would you do, or like heat, ice, rest, what would you suggest?
That's a good question. So with the shin splints, if you backtrack just to go through the anatomy, is like we have the bone right here, and it's really an overuse injury. So the outer covering of the bone is called your periosteum, and it's pretty sensitive. So it's like a lot of nerve innervations to that area, and the muscle fibers that are attaching to the periosteum, if they're constantly tugging on them, over and over and over again, that gets really sensitive. So that's where, it's really just understanding where the pain is coming from. Is it from the muscle itself, or is it from where the muscle's tugging on that bone? So the muscle you're referring to right here is your tibialis anterior. On the other side, with shin splints, you'll see a lot of times the posterior tibialis being the cause of pulling on the bone. So it's just like coming on the back here, and it attaches to your tibia right here on the back portion, but it kind of loops around and pulls on these fibers, and you get a lot of that anterior pain in the bone itself, just because it's pulling on that periosteum surrounding the bone. So what you could do from a from a treatment perspective is to inhibit, meaning calming down the muscle that's working too hard. You might not think about it, but your gastroc here, so your calf muscle, you want to just like anchor down maybe some tape here and starting point, and come all the way down, calm that muscle down. Do something similar for the posterior tibialis, of where it starts back here and it loops around to calm that muscle down. So you'd be starting up here, coming down, just helping calm that muscle down from working too hard. But in terms of like ice and heat, I get that question all the time. Think of ice as just like calming down those nerves that are giving you pain. So in terms of just like to control pain, you can put ice on there just to like get some temporary relief. Heat does a good job of bringing more blood flow to the area. So if muscles are damaged or whatnot, or tendons, tendons and ligaments don't really get a good blood supply. So that's where we want to bring in more heat in that area. But even the muscle itself, is you want a certain amount of inflammation to help the healing process. That's when inflammation gets...
The factors, and there's a whole like 9 of them. In school we learned about it. Is it that whole situation that you want to go through? Where I don't know.
For what exactly?
I don't know. We learned something like this where there's like platelet factors or something like that, where there's a healing response, and it's got like 9 steps or 9 proteins or whatever.
Yeah, and there's it's the process of inflammation has a process of what happens first, like bringing in macrophages to the area, and we can get really technical with this stuff, but just from simple applications, ice to calm down the pain, heat to bring in more blood flow. So you can even do alternate, 15 minutes on with one if it's a painful condition. Then you can put some heat on right afterwards, another 15 minutes.
That's what my coaches say. So that's probably the best. Now, would that work for all injuries, or not all, but like, any kind of pain-related stuff like that, where it's always an alternating? Or what injuries would you have where it's only ice or only heat, or none of them because it causes...
if you're not having necessarily pain, I wouldn't put ice on there necessarily, because it's really just to alleviate the pain. That's all. From happening.
We were told like ice is supposed to somehow restrict blood flow, because if you have too much blood flow, that's bad. So that's a myth, or is that correct? Or?
No, it's correct. But a lot of times, like when you want a certain amount of inflammation, like I said, but you don't want too much inflammation. It's like inflammation is the backbone of a lot of diseases. So it's like you want it. It's an intricate part of the healing process, but too much inflammation is an issue, and we can go to that later on with how chiropractic works with spinal inflammation of specific joints, and how we want to control the amount of inflammation that's going on.
So you want a bit of both, generally speaking.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Some inflammation to help the healing process, not too much to where it becomes a problem.
And if you weren't to do anything, like chronic, I never really did anything. I got injured and I just rested it if I really had to, but mostly my coach would never let me.
Sure.
You know, that's how it was back in the day, the good old days. But if you were to not do any of that sort of stuff, what would be the difference, do you think, if you took two athletes, one did the ice and heat situation and maybe taping and all that stuff,
sure,
and the other one did do anything, what differences would you see?
I think it's, generally speaking, I think you're going to see better results if you're doing some, helping that whole healing process. I mean, a lot of the times, your body does a great job. I mean, it's a smart machine on how to heal itself.
Right.
So now, any kind of intervention, I think, is really geared at how do you assist your body in that whole healing process. Some injuries, like shin splints and whatnot, they usually resolve on their own. It's just, okay, how fast do you want relief? And that's when people see, a chiropractor, athletic trainer, physical therapist to address something like that.
So the body will generally heal itself, not like bone breaking and stuff, but just stuff like that. You're just now speeding up the process with different, chiropractic work, therapy, this and that. Is that basically the gist?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And I mean, even with a broken bone, if you want to use that as an example, it's going to heal itself. You don't need a miracle drug to tell your bone to regenerate. It's going to do it on its own.
Right.
Now, obviously, you want it in the right alignment and have it, casted, have it properly taken care of. But our bodies are genius in that they can, they know what to do. Now it's just kind of like getting them in the right direction. So a lot of times, if people just let injuries heal on their own, we've learned to stabilize that area usually, but at the consequence of maybe laying down a little too much scar tissue, and then we have like compensations because we've now learned to favor the other.
Well, that's what I was going to ask.
Muscle and that sort of thing.
From an athletic perspective, my coaches always, now again, they didn't use as much research as there is now, but it was like, if you got injured, that means you need to toughen up a little bit. So, muscle through it, your body will be stronger because of it. That whole adage about that. Do you think that there's some truth in that, or is that just old school people that don't know what they're talking about and that's actually just doing more damage, or do you want a bit of both? Or?
Well, again, I think every injury and everything is unique to specific person, specific injury, whatnot. So to say, just tough through any injury, no, I can't say just do that, because a lot of times, like if it's a stress fracture, let's lay off of it, that sort of thing. If it's something minor, it's let's do whatever intervention we can for it, and then if it's safe to continue on, and we're not going to re-injure it by keep going. Get back into the sport and do it, but I think you have to. It's a case-by-case thing. If it's we've treated it, it seems like it's going to be fine to go back into play, go ahead.
And if you have let's add back to the shin splint situation. So let's say out of a scale of 0 being it doesn't hurt at all and 100 being it's like I feel like it's broken. If I have shin splints, but yet I have a competition coming up and I know I got to do well, at what point, maybe a percentage, if you can give some rough idea, would you say that that's too much pain, that it means you're really doing more damage than good, or where can you maybe push a little just to get through that competition? What's safe?
Well, again, my big thing is I'm never going to chase pain so much. It's more, that's just telling us there's like a smoke alarm off. There's something going on in our body. It's like, okay, some people have a higher pain threshold, some people have a very low one. So in terms of, if you're very sensitive to pain and you're, 9 out of 10 on your pain criteria, someone else has a very high pain tolerance, has like a 2 or a 3, the injury might still be the same. So just because you perceive more pain doesn't make the injury more severe or less severe than the other person who has the same.
So it's up to you. So if you feel that you can go through and you're not like dying in pain, kind of go through it. If not, then just rest it and go back another day.
I think this is one of those fine topics. I think have it evaluated by someone to see if it's a safe thing to go back or not.
Professional help, make sure that you're not doing it for the day, because a stress fracture, you don't know. You just say, it might just be a bruise, it might be this, it's fine. And all of a sudden, it's just gotten bigger and bigger, and now you have a real issue. Because you don't want that. That's not worth the competition, is it?
That's, again, case by case. What do you want? If you're in the Olympics and you have a stress fracture, maybe someone's going to push through that.
There's the one girl that did the vault on one leg, basically.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right? So yeah, if you're in the Olympics and it's your biggest competition, I think no matter what's happening to you, you're gonna go.
Sure. Yeah.
No, I can understand. Okay, but again, you're saying get some professional help. Make sure that you get someone that really knows the body to double check that this is just a isolated incident. So tough through it if you can for this competition because you want to qualify for nationals, but then rest right after. Or no, this one more extra push will put you over the edge. Cut it there. Sorry, you can try next year.
Sure.
So okay, perfect.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
Good story.
Well, thank you very much for all the help and all the information.
My pleasure.
Check out Chris, and if you're in St. Louis, he's obviously here, and all the info will be down below. So again, thank you, and we'll come back next time.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Perfect. Thanks.